Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delighted to have in the studio with us, as always, my buddy Bryan Platt, Executive Director of the Jackson County Right to Life, and he's kind of our man on the street here with all of these issues. Hi, Bryan. Good to see you.
Good morning, Perry.
Big event tonight. We'll get into that, which is StandUpGirl, but give us a legislative update. What's happening?
Okay, let me do just a good one first.
A good one first. Okay, let's do that.
This is just so precious. So we had this young man come in. He says, I'd like to interview you because our high school class is having a debate on abortion. So we had a little interview thing. So I get a letter from him. I said, let me know how it happened. And this is one of the public high schools. He goes, thanks for allowing me to interview you and giving me lots of information. I've learned a lot more about abortion than I thought I knew. For the debate, my group represented the side that says abortion is good. We lost the debate. One person in my group was a little upset, but I was glad we lost because it shows me that there's more negative information that shows the effects of abortion. So I don't know, all this nonsense that goes on out there and stuff, and yet, one soul, one brain at a time, the message is getting out. So he was on the losing side and he was glad he lost. I love it.
Thanks for being there. So what's happening up in Salem?
Okay, so we probably have one of the worst kinds of pieces of legislation with respect to the pro-life community that could be conceived up in Salem. And so what I'd like to do is give everybody a little bit of background on that, and then this is an action alert, okay? Because that's what it's going to take to try to derail this. So I'm going to lean a little bit on Senator Doug Whitsitt. For those of us from Eagle Point, he's our senator. He actually lives in Klamath Falls, but he sent this out, and so you need a little bit of background to understand what's going on up there. So the Oregon Equal Rights Amendment was adopted last November when the people of Oregon passed ballot measure number 89 by a margin of 2-1. The measure created and added Article 1, Section 46 to the Oregon Constitution. That section states that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the state of Oregon on account of sex. The measure further authorized the state legislature, and this is where this new piece of this bill comes in, to enforce that provision through appropriate legislation. So, well, I'll just go a little bit further. He says there was a court ruling, and the court reasoned, and this has to do with the Equal Rights Amendment, the court reasoned that only women can become pregnant, and that the amendment then made women a separate class of citizens. Therefore, any restriction on abortion would affect only that class of citizens and is unconstitutional under the Equal Rights Amendment.
Whoa.
Okay, so that's where abortion comes into play with the state's passage of the Equal Rights Amendment last fall. So, and part of that then is that they require other legislation to kind of implement the presumed discrepancies or discrimination because of the Equal Rights Amendment. So enter Senate Bill 894.
Okay.
It's in the legislature right now. And it's relating to, here's what they look like when they come out, okay, minus all my pink notes here, but this requires health insurance policies or certificates that include prescription drug benefits, health benefit plans, and state medical assistance program to cover the cost of specified women's health care. And I'll give you two guesses, and the first one doesn't count, as to what they consider women's health care.
Sure, abortion.
Okay, abortion. Yeah. So we know now that because of the Equal Rights Amendment, women are a separate class. We know that to restrict abortion is a denial of their rights under this new Equal Rights Amendment. Now we have the enabling legislation. And what it's doing, Perry, one section at a time, and I'm going to read just a couple of them here, is it forces every insurance carrier in the state of Oregon, public or private, to fund abortion.
Wow.
Okay, now, we've been wrestling with the Oregon Health Plan.
Right, just a state.
Right, a state thing. About a third of all the abortions, that happen in the state are covered under the Oregon Health Plan. Now, yours and mine, private health care insurers in the state of Oregon, this would include churches. This would include any group insurance plans where common business interests have organized an insurance company of their own.
Can you say Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, there you go. And I would imagine that there, this thing could end up, if it does pass, it could end up heading to the court, because there's so many fundamental issues here. But just a couple of things. Section 1 says restrictions on abortion coverage interfere with a woman's personal decision making, her health and well-being, and her constitutionally protected right to safe and legal medical procedure. So they're considering abortion a safe and legal medical procedure. Another section requires all private and public health insurance providers to offer essentially free abortion at any age of gestation upon demand. And this is according to the Legislative Council up there. This isn't speculation. This is what they call LC has said is the intent of this bill, the attorneys that write the legislation.
Wow.
And the final one, well, not the final one, but applies to licensed insurance companies, healthcare service contractors, health insurance maintenance organizations, associations or groups of employers which provide insurance, or any other person or corporation which is responsible for the payment of benefits or the provision of services. So essentially, there's no escape from the requirement that abortion be funded as a woman's constitutional right of medical service. Others that are interesting is it limits the copay. A lot of the stuff that we get, we have a copay or whatever. There's no, sometimes I suppose an insurance company could say, well, okay, if you're going to do that, we're going to make the copay incredibly high. Okay, they're limiting the copay to 10%, and there is no deductible. No deductible. So we have our famous chart. If you can get that up where somebody, okay, so.
I don't know, let's see if I can get to this camera here.
Okay.
That's me, let's stay with this one.
Okay, so here's our chart. For those of you who haven't seen this, this is all 50 states and restrictions on abortion that those states have put into place. This is January of 2014. Oregon is down at the bottom conspicuously with no restrictions whatsoever. This is 2014. Since that time, Oregon was actually moved up one notch, and Vermont actually took the last place. And the reason that Oregon moved up was because they allowed for private and private insurance carriers to opt out on offering abortion under Obamacare. Wow. Okay, so you could have an insurance company that said, no, we're not going to fund abortion as part of our insurance coverage. Unfortunately, SB 894 would move us back down to the last place in the country with respect to no restrictions whatsoever on abortion coverage. So, churches, schools, private organizations, commercial operations, regardless of where you get your insurance, the insurance company will be forced to allow you to, or be forced to pay for abortions for people with very minimal co-pays and no deductible applied. So they're making it as absolutely easy as possible. And Lois at Oregon Right to Life PAC said to me that she believes that the legislators that are involved in this can be swayed by public input. Okay, and honestly, they don't have to be. They hold the power up there, both chambers and the governor's office. So this is where this becomes an action event for us. We need to call our legislators, at a minimum, call our own legislators, our state senators and our state reps, let them know where we stand, and even better, there's a list of all the sponsors of this legislation. There's 28, they're all Democrats, but they at least have to listen to us if we call their office, even though we may not be their constituents. So I guess I'm asking everyone to take a few minutes. We have the information with all the links on our Jackson County Right to Life website, which is jacksoncountyprolife.org. JacksonCountyProLife.org. I also burden Sue. If you can't write that down or whatever, you can call the Dove, and Sue can perhaps forward you the email that has all the links. But this is happening right now. Okay. And it will make for a different landscape.
What are you asking them to do?
Say
no to that number?
Say no to Senate Bill 894, SB 894, say no.
All right. vote no on SB 94. All right, let me take a quick break. We're going to hold you over for a segment. Big night tonight for Stand Up Girl. What is that? What are they doing with that? Great event, and some other updates on what's happening. And again, SB 894. SB 894. Call your legislators and tell them, please vote no on SB 894, or you can go to Jackson County
Pro-Life.
JacksonCountyProLife.org. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and chatting here with Bryan Platt with Jackson County Right to Life. And again, it's certainly encouraging you to call your legislators and let them know that you would certainly want them to vote no on SB 894, which is kind of a sneaky bill sitting out there to enforce another rights bill that could probably reinstitute the whole issue of abortion back into the insurance company area, which is a big, complicated thing. But the bottom line is, even though it's a democratically controlled House, Senate, and governorship, you're saying that Lois at Right to Life, their Oregon Right to Life, saying that these guys are kind of open. That's my understanding, and that's really an unusual situation, considering generally when they have the power, they wield it fairly ruthlessly. Yeah. You know, so, and I mean, we know we're up against it. I mean, they have the numbers, you know, the pro-life, generally the Republicans do not. I mean, it's as simple as that. So to hear that they would be responsive to the public's input is encouraging, really. Okay. Yeah. SB 894 is the number you want to call. And also you can go to JacksonCountyProLife.org and find a list of all the sponsors of that bill. And you may want to send them an email as well. That would be a great thing to do. Right. All right, big event tonight, Stand Up Girl. And this is quite an organization and quite an outreach, isn't it? You know, this is something that's kind of been under the, I don't know, just under the whatever, you know, just our chapter hasn't spent a lot of time on it, even though this organization, StandUpGirl.com, is a creation of Oregon Right to Life. It was conceived in 1999, no pun intended, you know, and went online in the year 2000, and since has become, and this is the incredible part of this, it has become consistently one of the top 5 pro-life websites on the internet. And I mean, not just on the internet in Medford, Oregon, but in the world. Wow. I mean, it has had that kind of reception. And the result of that is, at the last board meeting, you know, we always get a report at the board meeting, over 26 million visits in the last 14 years. And it hasn't just been on a line, it's been ramping up. 2014, over 4 million visits to that website. Wow. And now, the first couple of months of 2015, 400,000 plus visits each month, and another 295,000 visits each month on Facebook. Wow. So, it's not just, this is the thing about it, is it's not just another, and I don't mean to you know, belittle any other websites, you know, pro-life websites at all, but it's not just another website. Its success is it's interactive. Wow. Okay? And so here we have, this is a book that was written by Becky Frazier. Right. She was the first of the ladies who, the term stand-up girl comes from the fact that she found herself in a crisis pregnancy, and she decided to stand up and do what was right, which of course was to keep the child. She wasn't married at the time. She since married the father. They have 8 kids. They live in Canada. She's been down here for a couple of these events. She's just a blessing. But this is a book that has letter after letter, you know, email letter after letter from young women who were in exactly the same situation, and they began to correspond. Right. And that's what makes this website different. I think we have, it's either 9 or 11, we call them Beckys, you know, now all over the world, that answer these emails, that have all shared the same experience. They've all gone through the same crisis pregnancy, and the result was they kept their child. That's what makes this website appealing or interesting, is now these young women have an opportunity to say, what do I do? You know, and they're talking to someone who's been there, done that. Right. You know, and you know that's the most. I mean, that's the most effective, the most impactful kind of a communication. So that's what StandUpGirls.com is all about. Now, there's actually more to Stand Up Girl than that. There was a European country, and I honestly don't remember which one it was,
they adopted the StandUpGirl.com website for all their biology on pregnancy.
Whoa.
Okay, the information that's on Stand Up is so accurate and so thorough that the school system in that state-run country actually adopted the Stand Up Girl information as their state-approved, source of information on the biology of pregnancy. So there's a lot more stuff on there. But again, the thing that we're, most concerned with or interested in or excited about is the fact that these young women have somebody to talk to, and the success rate on these women, these women in crisis pregnancies deciding to keep their child is phenomenal.
All right, Stand Up Girl. Anyway, StandUpGirl.com is the website, and it is an incredibly active and interactive website. Millions upon millions are using this, and it's going, well, has gone viral, and it's really reaching out to a lot of young girls. And so you may want to check it out. Tonight is their fundraising dinner at the Rogue Valley Country Club. I understand that that's all pretty much buttoned up for tonight, but nonetheless, you can still support them if you feel led to do that, and I would assume through the website.
Right. So the bottom line for all these, the success that we've had is exposure through advertisements on the internet. In fact, I went on there this morning. I was just kind of curious, and the very first page right there on the right, the top ad, StandUpGirl.com. That's how these women find the site, and that costs money. There are organic ads, the ones on the left-hand side of the page that don't cost money, and if you're scrolling down, you'll find it and you click on it. But the paid-for ones are why we raise the money. Now, we have sources of income. The foundation has sources of income, including endowments, but by and large, these chapter functions where we have fundraisers and individuals donating on the website for the sole purpose of buying those little ads is what drives the women to the website. So that's what it's all about.
And there they certainly receive the support that everybody's looking for, and of course turning girls away from abortion. Can they still get this book?
Yeah, this book is still available. I think it's on. I think you can get it on Amazon. I think that's where it is.
Stand Up Girl.
Stand Up Girl. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Is when these young people go to this site, they're able to speak with someone who's gone through exactly the same thing, and it kind of lowers the barriers. Okay, and so we're talking about 26 million visits over the last a little bit more than a decade on this thing, books full of letters telling Becky how her conversation with them and whatnot changed their lives and helped them to decide to keep their child. You talk about an impactful thing. And do we have time for one more quick vignette?
Sure.
Okay, and I don't have a graph on this, but Paul Harmon, the creator of the thing, one time at a board meeting, this is incredible. If you take a chart of national abortion rates, okay, every year, it kind of goes up and down. It's been actually trending down. And then you superimposed the visits to StandUpGirl.com on the same chart at the same scale. Wow. When national abortion rates went down is when Stand-Up's advertising and visits went up.
Wow.
Okay, and they could track that. Now, it was there's no way to... but it went on for several years. It went like this.
Wow.
When we were advertising through donations from people who wanted to support the ministry, the national abortion rate was affected.
Wow.
Now that's powerful.
That is very powerful. All right, StandUpGirl.com is the website. You may want to check that out. I want to, before we run out of time, come back to the first thing that we talked about. There is a bill floating around in the Senate right now. It's called SB 894, relating to women's health care and creating new provisions and declaring an emergency, which the term women's health care obviously now also would include, it's kind of a code word for abortion. As this thing is being processed, does this mean, because we've got a question here, will this also mean that doctors and hospitals will be forced to perform abortion?
That's my understanding. That's my understanding. That's according to the Legislative Council, which are the people, the attorneys that write these bills at the bequest of a legislator. And one other thing that we kind of skipped over was they declare an emergency. That is a tactic that's used that takes away the people's right to have a referendum on the bill.
Because they go to ER.
It goes to emergency declaration. It becomes law the moment the governor's signature is on it, whereas normally a bill takes 90 days. That's how we stopped that, was that motor thing we had on the ballot last November with the registration. Okay, was they actually created a referendum on a bill that had been signed by the governor because they had 90 days to file the paperwork. This one goes into effect immediately to circumvent the ability of the people to do essentially a recall on the law.
All right, so what we're asking you to do is a couple things. You can go to jacksoncountyprolife.org and check out the bill itself, and you'll see about 28 sponsors or so?
Yeah, there's links to both to the senators, to the representatives, to the bill itself, to Doug Whitsett's newsletter, which is a very accurate and succinct compilation of what's going on. It's all right there on the front page.
So you can certainly, and I'm asking you to do a little activist work here, you can certainly email each one of those legislators through those connections and just ask them to vote no on SB 894. I would certainly encourage you, where you are watching or listening today in the Dove Network, that you call your local legislator, Senate and House, and let them know no on SB 894. And you're saying that even though the liberals control everything up there, they're open to this one.
For some reason, that seems to be the case. I have to think there's such controversy associated with this that even those that are pretty hardcore up there, the sponsors may actually be vacillating a little bit about whether they really want this thing to happen or not.
I can't help but think that if this thing does go through, that it'll be plagued with a lot of lawsuits because you're forcing people to do something they don't want to do or pay for something they don't want to pay for. I mean, this goes right to the Chick-fil-A case.
Yeah,
it just goes right to that case.
It does, and I mean, it raises national implications with respect to religious organizations and whatnot, but the way the bill is written, there is no escape.
And what about doctors and hospitals? I mean, I can't imagine that the Providence Catholic hospitals would want to be forced to do abortions.
Well, bless Providence's heart, they've been willing to say they'll go to the mat over some of this Obamacare stuff in the past as a corporation. And so, Lord willing, they would be willing to stand in the gap on this one too.
All right. Well, this is, I know you got a lot going on. All of us do. This takes a little time, but believe me, it has great impact. And that is a couple things. Just call your legislators or email them and tell them no on SB 894. You can go to jacksoncountyprolife.org. You'll see the bill there. You'll see all the sponsors with the links to those legislators. Send them an email as well. And I think if we can flood the gates, so to speak, here, who knows?
Well, and especially with the wide area that the Dove reaches now, it won't just be Medford, that area, but it'll be the coast. It'll be all the areas that we need that input from all over the state geographically.
All right. Thanks, Bryan, for what you do. Congratulations for the big event tonight for Stand Up Girl. You can go to standupgirl.com, check out that, share it with your friends, and remind yourself that when you support standupgirl.com, you're helping them get those ads placed in various places throughout the network, or throughout the internet, I should say, that drives girls to standupgirl.com, and hopefully they'll choose to keep their baby.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right. We'll be right back.